Praise the Lord and welcome back to another explainer. For all of you focused learners out there, today we're unpacking a deeply moving, intensely human narrative. We're looking at Genesis chapter 21. You know, often when we look at ancient texts, it's so easy to get bogged down in the grand historical sweep, right? We just kind of forget the actual people involved. But today we're zooming in on the personal, gritty stories of Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, and Ishmael. I'm telling you, this story has literally everything. We're talking miraculous joy, heartbreaking exile, and high-stakes diplomacy.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, the birth of Isaac. Second, Hagar and Ishmael exiled. Third, survival in the desert. And finally, number 4, the treaty at Beersheba.
Okay, so we are looking at the exact source text today, Genesis 21, straight from the New International Version. Now, I know at first glance this just sounds like standard historical prose, but we're going to treat this as the deeply emotional, personal story it actually is. The ink on these ancient pages represents real-world family dynamics, absolutely gut-wrenching distress, and ultimate triumphs that honestly still resonate with us thousands of years later.
All right, Section 1, the birth of Isaac, a miraculous arrival.
The big theme, right off the bat, is the sheer, mind-boggling improbability of this birth. I mean, think about it. Abraham is 100 years old when his son Isaac is born. 100! When Isaac is 8 days old, Abraham circumcises him exactly as God commanded, and as the child grows, they hit the day Isaac is weaned, and Abraham throws this massive, great feast. To put that into perspective, it's a lot like throwing a huge modern baby shower, or maybe a massive first birthday bash with all your friends and family. It's a huge deal. They are celebrating this baby making it through that incredibly fragile first year. It's a major, super joyous cultural milestone for their family.
And you've got to notice Sarah's reaction to this completely impossible event. She says, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." She goes on to just marvel at who would have ever predicted she'd be nursing a child in Abraham's old age. It's wild. And actually, if you look closely at the historical footnotes, there's this beautiful little detail. The name Isaac literally translates to "he laughs." So this entire birth is just wrapped up in this deep, overwhelming emotion of joyous laughter.
Moving on to Section 2, Hagar and Ishmael exiled, a house divided.
But, as we all know, joy can flip to sorrow pretty fast. The whole tone shifts dramatically here. Basically, a severe domestic dispute completely shatters the joy of that weaning feast. During the party, Sarah spots Ishmael, the son that Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham, mocking, and Sarah is having none of it. She immediately demands that Abraham get rid of the slave woman and her son, fiercely declaring that Hagar's son is never going to share in the inheritance with her son Isaac. Naturally, the text tells us this distressed Abraham greatly because, well, it concerned his son. It's an incredibly intense family conflict. But God steps in. He tells a stressed-out Abraham not to worry, explaining that both sons actually have distinct destinies. Through Isaac the offspring will be reckoned, yes, but God promises to also make the son of the slave into a nation, because he's Abraham's offspring too.
So early the very next morning, Abraham gives Hagar some food and a skin of water, literally sets them right on her shoulders, and sends her and the boy away. There is a really sharp narrative pivot taking place here. We go instantly from the bustling, wealthy, celebratory camp of Abraham straight into Hagar's isolated, incredibly perilous wandering in the harsh desert of Beersheba.
Which brings us to Section 3, survival in the desert, a mother's despair.
I want to just slow down here for a second because we really need to feel the agonizing reality of this moment. Hagar and her son are wandering in the wilderness, watching their meager supplies just completely run out. Eventually, the water in the skin is totally gone. Hagar is utterly depleted. She places the boy under one of the bushes, walks off, and sits down about a bow shot away. And she does this because she literally thinks, "I cannot watch the boy die." It's that raw, universal desperation of a mother facing the absolute worst-case scenario. She just sits there and starts sobbing. But then, out of nowhere, this dramatic divine rescue happens. God hears the boy crying, the angel of God calls to Hagar from heaven, tells her not to be afraid, and promises to make the boy into a great nation. Then God opens her eyes, and suddenly she spots a well of water. She rushes to fill the skin and finally gives her boy a drink.
And from there, the text just beautifully wraps up Ishmael's personal story arc. It says God was with the boy as he grew up. He didn't just barely survive, he really established himself. He lived out in the desert of Paran, became an archer, totally mastering his harsh environment, and his mother eventually got a wife for him from Egypt. Against all odds, he thrives out there in the wilderness.
All right, Section 4, the treaty at Beersheba, ancient diplomacy. So, we're shifting gears entirely now. We're moving from deeply personal tragedy and rescue right into the authoritative world of political diplomacies, sworn oaths, and resource management. Around this time, a regional leader named Abimelek, along with the commander of his forces, approaches Abraham because they recognize that God is with him. They basically ask for a sworn oath of fairness. But Abraham actually has a grievance. He complains about a well of water that Abimelek's servants had totally seized. To settle it, Abraham brings sheep and cattle to make a formal treaty. But listen to the third step in this process. Abraham explicitly sets apart 7 ewe lambs from the flock. When Abimelek asks, "Hey, what do these mean?" Abraham tells him to accept them as a witness that he dug this well. To put that in modern terms, think of this exchange of 7 ewe lambs as the exact equivalent of a notarized property deed today. It's how they legally secured real estate and water rights.
So, the really crucial point here is hidden right in the name of the location itself. According to the text's footnotes, Beersheba can mean well of 7, which directly links back to those 7 ewe lambs, and it can also mean well of the oath, pointing to the sworn treaty between the two leaders. It's basically a permanent linguistic marker of their diplomatic agreement.
After this treaty is all sealed, Abimelek heads home, and Abraham plants a tamarisk tree right there in Beersheba. He calls on the name of the Lord, the eternal God, and he ends up staying in the land of the Philistines for a long time, which leaves us with a pretty provocative question. How does this firm, established presence in the land set the stage for what comes next in these historical texts? Now, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with 3 actionable steps for daily application, drawing straight from this incredible story. Number 1, when you're facing impossible odds, kind of like a 100-year-old expecting a child, maintain your hope and keep faith in your long-term goals. Number 2, when you find yourself in a metaphorical desert and your resources feel completely depleted like Hagar's, take a moment to just pause. Often, the well or the solution you need is right there. You just need your eyes open to see it. And number 3, when navigating conflicts or trying to secure your hard work, don't just rely on handshakes. Use clear communication and formalize your agreements, just like Abraham did with those 7 ewe lambs. This has been such a wild journey, from a miraculous family birth all the way to regional diplomacy. If you got something out of unpacking this text with me today, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Catch you on the next explainer.